Alright then guys, we have 2 candidates here to answer the question and we have 10 minutes for them. And I think in the corner of my eye I did see Natalie Crispy's hand.
Do you see the role of President primarily as a leader or as a coordinator and facilitator?
I'm going to go to Sam first.
Okay, there has to be some element of leadership there, certainly. But I very much view the kind of relationship between DSU sabbaticals as one of equals. I think all the DSU sabbaticals, certainly in their positions on the trustee board as well, have to have this kind of wider vision of the DSU. So it's not about kind of one DSU president just kind of pulling everything forward. It's about the entire team of sabbaticals pulling things forward. And so I'd look forward to kind of working closely, if elected, with those guys next year.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of a bit of both. If you are the president, you are the president, and president implies that you're, you know, taking the flak if anything goes wrong. But it's not about dictating to people, dictating the sabbatical team, telling them what to do. I know very well from working in my own common room executive committee that you've got to work with people to make things happen, and it's working with that balance.
Okay, our next question is to Pete.
One of the things that I know the university has a fantastic reputation for, amongst other things, sorry this is a bit of a shameless question because I'm a sports student, is sport. And I know we've got the highest participation rates in the country, it's about 90% at the moment. I also know one of the issues, the battles with getting to that level, is getting the word out to the students and communicating through the JCRs to the presidents to try and enthuse the students to get into the college sport, into university sport. So how would you say that you'll help the Team Durham president and exec to help kind of get the word out communication-wise, given your position?
You have the kind of the usual criteria, open emails, advertising through colleges and things. I think with Team Durham though, it would be nice to get them more involved in Freshers Week, both from the DSU but also going around colleges saying, you know, we have Team Durham, we have this great thing here, come and be a part of it. Because I think the one-to-one thing is very important. If you actually meet somebody who plays sport for university who can tell you what a great thing it is, and you can hear that and be enthused by it, then I think it can really plug you in. I would say you mentioned JCRs, but postgrads sometimes get left behind on this. Obviously we're a bit older and perhaps not physically athletic as we were when we were 18. Maybe I'm speaking for me there. But yeah, it's getting everybody involved as well, thinking outside the box.
Right, I'm not going to repeat any of that stuff. I think the DSU sabbaticals, when they go around each individual college during Freshers Week, that would be an ideal time to also get someone from DUAU along there as well, and whether it's the president or a rep. I think Freshers Fair can really be pushed. I think generally making sure that there is the infrastructure in place at DUAU, although a separate body, I think it's important that as the student union we make sure that there's kind of equal opportunities across the board. And just making sure that DUAU has a presence in each individual college. I think the other thing I'd push for is a greater integration with college staff and DUAU. Right at the start of the year we discussed the possibility of reducing accommodation because there's lots of pre-season training for DUAU athletes and kind of making sure that's available at a reduced rate to encourage DUAU to actually interact with colleges more. That could be another way of doing that.
Excellent. Can I go to Andy next, please?
Bearing in mind the motion that was passed through DSU Council last night regarding the mandation of sort of DSU president to work with the colleges quite closely, how do you see your role within the JCR presidents? Obviously you sit on Prescom, but how do you personally see the role, besides from the motion, of how you work with the presidents and how you work forward on issues?
Well, as a current JCR president, I know what it is, such a pain in the ass when someone tries to come into your college and tell you exactly how to run your JCR, so I'd kind of avoid that. I think it's a matter of supporting individual JCR presidents, kind of let them bring the issues to the table, but also just supply them with information rather than opinions. on issues that may be affecting them. I take a step back from JCRs. I understand how the system works because I am a JCR president at the moment. But I think it's important that the DSU isn't kind of there solely to support JCRs, because although JCRs are a great system, don't get me wrong, not every student buys into it. So it's about kind of covering that base as well.
Yeah, I think it's very important to work very closely with them. You have to, however, appreciate very clearly that every college here and at Queen's is very different. They have different needs, and it's about understanding that and facilitating that. Basically, you have to go in, listen to what they say, and take the information from that and work with it. I don't think the head of any common room has particularly confrontational issues. They're not fighting against each other, but it's about understanding nuances and making the DSU the broad umbrella, but also working with individual common rooms to also deal with their specific issues.
And go please to the corner.
As president, you'll obviously also be a sabbatical trustee. Do you have any experience in the areas of finance or law which would help with that?
Wow. As far as financial experience goes, I was treasurer of my JCR. We have a turnover of roughly $500,000. We have a surplus of 100k, which has been accumulated over 3 years because we've got kind of very, very effective and efficient financial things in place. We've just finished a bunch of ADRPs. They're kind of like replacement registers, and I'm sure these kind of details aren't really going to interest anyone. But it's vital that, from our perspective, that our JCR is kind of sustainable. And in the same way, DSU is sustainable. So I do have a lot of experience kind of with that approach. In terms of law, I've been working on this Charities Act stuff for longer than I care to remember. And I have spoken to trustees of existing organisations similar to DSU. So I do have a certain degree of information about that. I'm fairly comfortable I could slip into the role from day one.
At the back there, please.
Am I not allowed to? I've been cut off already. Yeah, again, from being in charge of a common room, I echo exactly what Sam has said here. Aside from that, obviously, after my undergrad, I worked outside the university. I was operations manager at the London Dungeon. Sorry if any of you have been there, it's terrible. But obviously with that, you work with a lot of legal minutiae, employment law, health and safety, blah, blah, blah. You know what the law's like, you could go on forever. When you're dealing with the law, it's important to get the best advice, though. You've got to go out and ask somebody who specifically knows what they're dealing with, what the law is, to get the real details, because it is a minefield. And I think from my more varied background, I'm particularly alive to that issue.